Hey, what's up? We're live. Let me go ahead and check. Everything's okay. Let me know how the audio is, because I'm kind of unsure where to place the mic. I'm gonna listen to myself in a second. But in any case, hey, Bing Bing Wahoo, how are you doing? Rad. Thank you for being here. Yeah, good. The audio's good. No worries. Okay, good, good. Because I've been having some issues recording videos lately, where suddenly the audio cuts off. But in any case, how are you doing? It's been a long time since we did a live stream. It really has been. Everything just got kind of crammed together. We had the holidays and had my birthday and a little vacation we took. So yeah, my apologies about that. I originally actually intended to do a live stream just another day, but things were so packed I just couldn't make it. So my apologies. Hey Erica, how are you doing? Um, hey Madurando, hope you're doing well. Lakshita, how are you? Paul, hope you're doing well. Wesley, um, hey Besanayan. So this live stream is going to be for you basically. If you have any questions, if you want to discuss something, I don't have any topics, any agendas. I don't have anything. I don't even have like a random thing to talk about like I usually do. Um, a lot has happened. A lot has happened in the last couple of weeks, mostly here, not really outside, but a lot has happened internally, and so I'm happy to share these changes as they come, kind of in the form of the videos and the posts and everything. It's not really something that's necessarily easy to verbalize. Hey, John, hope you're doing super duper well. I know I need to continue with our messages. My apologies again. Um, Lauren, where did you go for vacation? We went to Cyprus, Paphos. It was great. It was really great. Just a resort that has everything there included. You don't have to do anything. They treat you like luggage. They pick you up from the airport. It's a big group. We filled almost an entire bus. They pick you up at the airport, bring you there to the resort, get you back. It was awesome. Um, it was two pools, one that was heated because it was a little chilly, and then there are a few sulfur baths there that you can go to. You need to spend only 15 minutes in each one of the three, so it's really like there's a process to it. Nice spa, saunas, everything. Basically, just chill. Lots of greens, middle of a forest, beautiful, beautiful. It's my first time in Cyprus. Um, Hey, Cairo Bustin, hope you're doing well. Hey, Adele. Hey, Daiji. Uh, Karina. Hi. Finally a live stream again, right? Frino. Hey. Sarah. Hey. Alex. Alexel, which is Alex L. Hey. Daiji, how was your vacation? Yeah, it was great. It was super, super duper. It was really good. The food was good. It's like this everything is included. You don't have to leave there. So we had all breakfast, lunch, dinner. Everything was vegetarian. Lots of fish, a bunch of good stuff. It was really great. Kathleen, good morning. S. Corbett, hope you're doing well. Erica, are you currently working on any paintings? What do you have planned for your next one? Yeah, so I've been quite prolific, finding my direction, optimizing, basically removing a lot of unnecessary baggage when it comes to painting and just cutting to the core of what I want to paint. I am working on a very unique painting. Um, I have a feeling it's going to be my best so far, which is a big claim, but I'm I just know it's going to be my favorite one up to this point. There are some good reasons to that. I'm not going to share the process at all. I shared a story just showing it really large. It's a large one. It's a full sheet, full imperial sheet, I guess it's called. It's not this big. It's like double that. It's huge. So that's going to be huge. I don't know how people are going to accept it, but that's part of what makes it to me such a good painting, because I couldn't care less. It's really me and for me. It's pretty crazy. I think a lot of people will like it, actually, just as a byproduct. But my goal is just I'm channeling something. It's crazy. It's gonna be a big one, a really a big one. I think it will take a couple of days to finish. I would have loved to finish it like tomorrow or something, but it's probably gonna take till Sunday, Monday. We'll see, something like that. Devin, good morning. Love your videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, and sorry there's been a few of them just because I've been all over the place. Leah, hello from France. Thank you for being here, Leah. Or Leah, not sure. Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Devin, well, I say good morning, but I don't know if it's morning there. Yeah, it's 4 p.m. now. Here, 4 and 4 minutes. Lauren, wow, Cyprus sounds like a dream. I'm Canadian, so that's a world away for me. Yeah, and you know what? Cyprus is like a very popular destination here. Very common for people to visit Cyprus. Just I never got the chance to be there, but a lot of it, most people here have visited. Not most, but a lot of people here visited. It's an hour by plane. It's so close, like the closest almost destination, aside from maybe Turkey. Sarah, or maybe Turkey's farther, I think. Joining from Cyprus, cool. Photos or it didn't happen, but that was yeah, I can show a few photos. I actually shared a lot in this story, but I can share here as well. Remind me again if I forget, like in 30 minutes or so. I'll go over some chats and then maybe I'll share a few. Edit, hello. Vagabond, hi. Deborah, finally, good morning from sunny New Hampshire. Thank you so much for being here, Deborah. Jill, how are you doing? Hope everything is well with you. Thank you so much for always being here and supporting. It means a lot. Devin, I just bought an 18 by 14-inch watercolor sketchbook. Do you have any tips for painting this big with watercolor? Yeah, so I'm actually working on that huge painting I was telling you about. I would say painting different sizes is more similar than different. It's the same medium. It's the same person making the painting, which is you, Devin. So I would say just do it. Don't worry too much about it. I mean, if you're worried, that's okay. But paint. See what happens. See the differences, because I'm still discovering a lot of small differences. For example, one of my insights from this painting was it's so hard to wet the surface of that. This is actually a good one. I'm going to use it for sure in the next large painting. It's so hard to quickly pre-wet an area or help with the flow with a large piece of paper. What I ended up doing was just getting a plastic cup of water and just spilling it over the painting, because that's the fastest way. Instead of dipping the brush and wetting, I just spilled water over it and then used the brush to spread them around. It was much better. So just an example, but this, it's really about, like, you need to probably find the things that you see necessary in large paintings, because I don't want to that's Ruth's hair, because I don't want to give you a bunch of tips that won't be useful to you personally. Just there are a few differences. I think you really need to experience it to kind of figure it out. But if you treat it like any other painting, I think that's the best way to discover what's necessary. Hey, Lollipop. Thank you for being here. Hey, Laura. How are you doing? Barbara. Hey. Jackson. Hello. Good morning from New Jersey. Sarah, any tips for busy people? I'm very busy with school, but also want to improve in watercolor. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, for just looking at facts without taking any mental things into account, it's just about priorities. At the end of the day, if you box out the time, if you schedule it in your schedule, by the way, I don't know how anyone works without a schedule, just for general things. If you just put an hour in your schedule and commit it to just that, and you sit down and do it, then you will do it. If you don't, then it just won't happen if it's not an important enough of a priority. And by the way, it's okay if it's not an important enough priority, but if you find yourself kind of weeks go by and you don't paint and you're like, where did the time go? And I really wanted to paint, and then in a way, you have to kind of remind yourself. And one way to do that is with technology. If you put it in the schedule, maybe you'll remember to do it and set aside and prioritize it, because there's no time for anything. Like, no one has any time for anything. People are so caught up in their day-to-day lives, myself included. It's just if you don't prioritize something over the others, almost to a fault, it very often will simply not happen. So that's what I would say about that. There's no way around it. It could be that it's not important enough. Again, it may not be a priority, which is great. You have other things on your mind. School in that example. But yeah, that's what I think. Whenever that happens to me, I just remind myself, oh, I need to actually schedule it so I see it, you know. Lollipop, can you do a live stream talk about different artists and the work that they have been doing? So do you mean something like painting masters, only multiple artists and just discuss their work? Do you want to look at the works of a few artists over a long period of time, meaning looking at what the artist did a decade ago and today, etc.? Let me know more specifically. If it's a good idea and it will work, maybe I'll do it. Why not? Wesley, how do you do composition? It's not really something you do. I honestly think composition is like taste. It's almost like asking, how do you develop a taste for what food you like? You just don't. You just taste a bunch of stuff, and then whatever you like, and you don't really make a choice. I think composition is similar. I think that's the first time I think about it this way or say it this way. I think it's a good way of looking at it. It's just like taste, and everyone's gonna have a different taste. And just by tasting a bunch of stuff, aka trying a bunch of stuff, you'll learn what works for you. A lot of it is contextual. You know, some compositions work based on the message of the painting. Others are just a pure visual pleasantry that you want things to look nice. And no type is wrong or right, you know? So sometimes if I really want to put an emphasis on something, I'll put it dead in the center of the page, put everything around it, make it the most prominent thing. But sometimes even my focal point will be a little set to the side, a little more muted, a little less bold, because I'm not trying to put everything on it, you know? So I think it's a question of what you want to achieve, your taste, just like in food or drinks or whatever. That's what I would say. Hank, thank you so much. I'm happy to have you here. Yeah, life is good. Life is getting better and better with every passing, I think, year. If I look at it on average, and you know, looking back at the last 2 years, and I'm still in it. It's been a challenge, you know. A lot of these things, it's very hard to verbalize, but just suddenly things that I used to enjoy, I don't enjoy as much, or suddenly things that weren't important become important. It's so weird, you know. There's doesn't seem to be an explanation, and there shouldn't be an explanation. Maybe there's no need for an explanation, you know. But I'm just going with it and paying attention, you know. Mia, hi from Stockholm. Cool, Sweden. That's awesome. I want to visit one day. It's one area of the world in Europe I did not get to visit. Hussein, hi from Iran. That's super cool. Let me know where in Iran. I'm curious, if you don't mind. Blue Monster Art, hi from England. Do you do any abstract stuff? You know, so I think I don't do abstract stuff if you mean just the entire thing is abstract, but I do think I'm using very frequently abstract concepts in my work. So a lot of times, if I don't feel like showing a bunch of details, I'll end up hinting at them to the level of, I wouldn't even call it impressionism anymore. I'll just call it an abstract area of the painting, really abstract. I'll throw a few things in there, it will work out. So definitely, I do have the at least inclination to use it in some spots in my paintings. But honestly, you know, with time, I find that the thing I end up painting a lot is just the thing that I enjoy, which makes sense. I just don't enjoy it as much, just abstract. I don't know. I feel like I'm not communicating visually like that. It's just not my go-to, you know? It could change in the future, but as of this, just like I don't really like to communicate in hyperrealism, you know, the more hyperrealistic works I do, the more I realize it's just not fun for me. Unless I paint it alla prima directly, it's not fun for me. And I will add to that the night scene I painted a couple of days ago that many of you probably have seen. Let me get it. Oops, that's not it. Where did I put it? I have no idea where. Oh yeah, there we go. This thing, right? So a lot of you have probably seen this. My initial reason for painting this kind of a scene was I want to see if I can handle that kind of a thing. If I can paint a scene where the light and shadow is very unclear in a way, and very overcast. It's not overcast; it's night, right? It's very artificial. And my conclusion is that I'm able to do it, and I just don't enjoy it as much. It was a hassle. It wasn't fun for me. I love it when there's strong light, strong colors, something bright to look at, strong contrasts, lots of light, a bit of dark. That's the kind of thing I enjoy more as of now. So it's funny how, I did it from the intention of I don't know if I can handle such a thing, but then I ended up figuring out that yes, I can, and I just don't enjoy it as much. So yeah. I wanted to try it out because night scenes, nocturnals, are barely ever painted in watercolor, if at least judging based on what I see online. I just don't see much of them, and I thought to myself, "Oh, that's cool. If I can become really good at that, that's a very unique thing." But it's just not as fun, So yeah, that's my answer. Blue Monster art with all the full context. Fabian, I'm having fun learning with you, beginner here. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. That's cool. Yeah, I'm so happy because I have so many videos. I think there are some people who watched probably every or almost every single one of them, and to that rare breed of person, thank you so much. But most people, I think, haven't, and so there. By the way, with is here with us. Yes. Organize a spot. Dig through this sofa. But I think most people haven't. So even if I don't post for a while or I don't post as frequently, I know that there's so much to watch. So that makes me happy. Sarvajit, love from India. Thank you so much. El Lacer, hey Liron, when do you think is the right time to start selling your art? I don't think there's a right time. I don't really look at it this way anymore. I think if you have a desire to sell it, then just try, without getting too much into advice of how to, because I don't think I'm really can speak authoritatively on that yet. But I think if that's something that interests you, just give it a shot. That's what I can say about it. It's not like now is not the right time. I'll wait. Anything you resist persists. So if you find yourself conflicted, right? There's something in you that wants it, but you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, it's too early, etc. It's just not going to work anyway. So might as well try it, Alicia, Liron, how can I submit a painting? I know I'm late to the game. No worries. We're gonna do more critique live streams. You can just email me at liron@lironian.com. I think I should have this here. So email me here, and I'll see it. I don't know when the next one is gonna be. Maybe next week. Maybe in a few weeks. But yeah, it's gonna happen for sure. So send it over, and then the next time I do it, if there's a spot, I'll include it, and if there's not, then I'll include it afterwards in a future one. Let's see, where was I? Missed my message. Yes. Okay. Renan, have you ever painted large watercolors like 70 by 40? Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. That is a treasure. Thank you so much. 70 by 40, do you mean inches, I'd assume? So 70 inches to centimeters, that's about a meter and a half. Yeah, I have, and the one I'm working on is close to that, I think. So yes, the painting we have in our living room, we have a large one of a scene from New York that is around that size as well. So yeah, I have. It's a different type of challenge. There are some best practices that can help technically, but honestly, you can pretty much paint the same way and still get a good result. I think it doesn't depend necessarily on changing things. I'm referring. I don't know if you care about that, but I'm connecting it to that other question. You will get a good result still, even if you paint the same, So yeah, Richard, how are you? Bennett Club. We're gonna have a Bennett Club here soon. Let's see. Thank you for being here and for always being so supportive. Much appreciated. Barbara, thank you so much as well. By the way, Liron, how do you know a reference photo is good as a painting subject? What are the important? Well, it's kind of cut your message, but I get it. I think if you look at it and it makes you want to paint it, then it's a good one. If it makes you excited to paint it, it's more of a feeling kind of a thing, that it's a perfect reference photo to paint. And I find that a lot of photos, they just look at, they don't move me, they don't do anything for me, and I just don't paint them, and by the way, talking about that night scene, it's easy to think I'm avoiding it because maybe I'm not so experienced in it or some. Well, I tested it out and I'm going to continue testing it with different things. I just discovered that if something doesn't move me, even if there is an extra fear because I'm not used to that kind of a scene, usually I don't enjoy it because it just doesn't move me, because I'll have a successful result and I still won't like it as much. Finishing a painting and having a good result, but kind of not enjoying the way there is a bit useless to me, I think. Leah, what would be good and cheap paper to exercise watercolor? If you just want to practice like mixing different colors and such, you can use something like a pulp paper, it's called. It comes in sketchbooks, it comes in many different forms. I think something in the same vein, or maybe just a notch up, would be something like the XL. And by the way, which is very easy. You mentioned you're from France, right? Should be very, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I'm mistaken. Which should be easy to get there. I saw it in many stores there. It's a very thick sketchbook with, like, I don't know, 80 sheets with spiral. It's spiral bound, if I'm not mistaken. It's pulp paper. It's not really 100% cotton. It's good. It's decent enough. XL watercolor sketchbook, I think it's called. It's a blue colored one. They have also sketchbooks, not watercolor. Don't get that. Get the watercolor one. And it's more than good enough just for basic practice. Now, if you're starting to do some wet and wet, some advanced, you want to blend colors properly meaning easily, 100% cotton, you can't really get away with it. So just find the cheapest one in your area. It could be Arches, could be Saunders Waterford, could be Bauhong. There's a bunch of them. I think the price will vary, so you find whatever is cheap in your area. Hussein, do you agree with grayscale to color method in digital painting? Since I heard a lot from art teachers that you must not use black in your painting. Yeah, the musts don't work for me. That's ridiculous. I would say I disagree with it just based on how it's phrased. I don't think there's a way. Really. What if someone really enjoys using black in their paintings? I think sometimes it can break the harmony. But what if you don't care about harmony, right? Like, who decides every painting needs to have good color harmony? Maybe you just care about the values, the shapes, the smooth transitions. Maybe you don't care about color harmony, and maybe you produce fantastic art without completely disregarding it, right? Now, there is something to be said about a process that is good maybe to get you started, a process that could be useful as training wheels, but training wheels tend to become the way you do things. So something to pay attention to, Sunil, how are you doing? Bro, one question. When I didn't have enough art supplies, I wanted to draw and paint every day. But today I have enough art supplies, I don't want to do painting. Please suggest something for motivation. Yeah, so I think it has nothing to do with your art supplies, for one. Motivation, inspiration varies. It's a very complex topic, but I will go back to the question, why do I paint? Why do I want to paint? Look, there's a side of you that seems to want to paint. But then again, you say you don't have motivation. So a good place to start maybe is to ask why you want to paint. If you don't have a good answer for that, that's fine too. It's not a test you need to score or win in. But I think there's something there to explore. Usually when things don't go the way you want them to, there's a bit of a mess to untangle. I think that's the best I can do. But I don't think it has anything to do with art supplies. That's almost like a guilt mechanism, saying, now that I have a lot of art supplies, now I don't want to paint, now I don't feel motivated to, it's kind of it's almost like when you're busy and you tell yourself, oh, I really want to paint, but then when you have free time you don't, because you didn't really want to paint, you just didn't want to do the thing that kept you busy. I'm not saying that's you, I'm just giving it as an example. So it's a very complex topic, but I think that's a good place to start. Hopefully that was helpful. Bara, Liron, what are the important elements in a good reference photo? I would go back to earlier. I think that it makes you want to paint it. And I treat reference photos as a colloquial term for anything you paint. So whether it's a view you're looking at directly, right? Doesn't matter to me. You could ask what are the important elements in a good subject matter to paint. Same question, same answer. Blue Monster Art. Hi from England. Do you do? Oh, we went over that. Okay. I would like to look at different artists and the work they have been doing. Okay, just generally. Yeah, cool. We can do something like that. I did a bit of it once. We looked at some videos. But yeah, we can do that. Let me remove the banner for now. Bye-bye, banner. Sarbajit, how do you do characterized figures? So do you mean how to paint figures, like people? Yeah, it's just like everything. It's a matter of trying. If you want to draw figures or paint figures, it's just like any other subject. If anything, the constant is you, the person who does it. I think that's where the magic lies. That's where the interest and authenticity lies in. Not that you should be authentic. You can do whatever you want. You can copy others. But just saying, I think that's where the interesting part is creation-wise. So it's pretty much like any other subject, I think. Whitewall, if you could rank your 5 favorite painters, which would it be? Yeah, I actually have a video like this, my top favorite painters. But it's tough because I think I could give you one that's top 5, and then I could give you 30 that compete for the other 4 spots. And I can't even tell you which spot that specific one is. So you see what I mean? So I could tell you that probably John Singer Sargent's watercolors specifically are in my top 5 because he had a way of painting that was clearly his. Now, you could say that a bunch of other artists have a way of painting that are clearly their own, but something about his watercolor work in particular, I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to comment deeply on his oils. I love them, but I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough. So something about his watercolors in particular that captivates me. I don't know where I'd place him, anywhere from the 2nd to the 5th spot. I have to come first, so I'll be first. Then John Singer Sargent is anywhere from 2nd to 5th. And then there's, I don't know, like 30, 40 artists that could end up being any of these spots, I think something interesting to look at is if you're just kind of looking for an artist that's a little unique, a little different than the norm, which I aspire to be like fully unique, but that's an artist that's a bit unique. There are many artists like this. Just to make it clear, there are many of them. One that keeps popping to mind over the years to me is Wendy Artin. And I have a Painting Masters episode about her. She is very masterful of the medium. She has her own voice, and her work does stand out to me to this day. From the moment I first saw it all the way to today, it is unique. It is very unique. I think it's different from everything else in a way, and you can kind of, if you have 5 artists that aren't the same but kind of the same, maybe they're 20%, 30% similar. I would say Wendy is more like 10 or 5% similar to the other artists. Of course, I'm throwing numbers at you, but there's no real numeral value to it. But that's just a random thought I had. Wendy Artin shows like an interesting painter, you know. I just commented on watercolor because that's my specialty. If you expand it outside of watercolor, I don't feel again like I know enough. John, Liron, you've been an advocate for applying rules in your routine, such as discipline for productivity. You mentioned you're removing such rules from your routine. How and why has this change come about? I think it's very interesting because I don't even think I was necessarily an advocate for um, discipline for the sake of productivity. I think it's something that worked for me. But with that said, I am going through a bunch of perspective shifts in that regard. Um, I think that any self imposed rules that don't come from the place of this comes to me naturally, and that's the way I naturally do it. Anything that is not that is at the end of the day a hindrance. Um, because if you're doing something because it's a self-imposed rule, principle, something to follow, and you'll notice people use a lot of words like willing. You have to be willing to sacrifice and do things with discipline. Willing sort of hints that it's something you don't really want to do, but you have to be willing to do it. And why waste a moment on doing something you don't really want to do? So people will say, you have to do things you don't want to do because that's life. You live in the real world. You have to pay taxes. You have to blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's fine. There's some things you need to do as a kind of logistical thing to live in modern society. But that's not a self-imposed rule. That's more like top-down government maybe imposed rule, or just something that is, you're not right, but you're smart. You just do it because if you don't, the consequences aren't going to be great, aren't going to be fun. But other than that, the rest is I feel like baggage, and I feel like it's almost like a middleman. That's the thing that has been cooking in my mind lately. So hard work, for example, or productivity, it's almost like a middleman to the thing you're actually after. So when I got started doing whatever my stuff, I had a very direct approach. I would just go ahead and write the book, film the video, and then as tasks and ideas and goals pile up, suddenly it became important to be productive. In other words, to get things done. But then it turned into, making a list of things that I want to do, things I have to do, marking them, checking them off the list. And then the checking items off the list and the managing a list and all of that became its own goal when it was never the purpose. So now you may say, okay, but with a list, you may be more organized. Maybe. That's why I'm saying not a self-imposed rule, but rather something that naturally helps you in whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So the more I remove these things, the more I feel free, honestly. And, I caught myself thinking about something I need to do and then having that habit of wanting to put it in a list just so that I don't forget. And guess what? I told myself, no, it's okay, I'll remember. And I remembered to do it. I did it a few days later, but it wasn't a life or death thing, and it got done. The things that have to get done will get done. The things that don't have to get done will not get done, whether you have a list or you don't. If it's a self-imposed rule, especially. So yeah, I am moving in that direction. Anything that's not just the natural way of doing things is baggage to me. There are a lot of things that led me in that direction. I can talk about them in the future because it's still kind of work in progress. I still don't feel like I have a strong enough of a grasp to talk about where it goes, how it goes, where it came from. But it's not something I'm hiding or anything like that. But it's ideas that are still brewing in my mind. So I don't feel like I have enough clarity. What I can say is that on a visceral feeling level, I feel much freer. I make better art. I make videos that are more authentic. I don't do things that feel not authentic and that feel like work and I don't want to do. And I never really had to do these things. It was just another one of these self-imposed rules. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I feel much freer. Actually, it's great. Thank you for mentioning. If you want to ask a follow up, feel free to, of course, because we can dive deeper on that. No problem. Like if you have any specific questions in addition to that, I'd love to answer. But yeah, you did ask how and why has this change come about. I found a specific person online that I'm listening to his videos and in podcasts, and it really clicked with me on a deep level. And it made me, more than anything, remember how things felt in the past when a lot of things were freer to me. It made me understand a lot of things about myself that are related to some of this content. I can send you. I can tell you who it is. It's not a secret or anything like that. But yeah, it's not for most people. That's something I can say for sure. Deep Krishan, hello, sir. How are you? I'm doing well. Doing well. Life is pretty good. Thank you so much. Alicia, agree. Hyperrealism is too much, abstract too little. And I realize both require a high degree of skills. I think it's not even a matter of too much. It's just a matter of taste, just like I said earlier. And I can get why some people, that's what they love doing. That's what they enjoy, and it fascinates them maybe to capture that scene, make it look hyper realistic, or maybe it captures their imagination to bring out something onto the paper with no medium, like a reference photo that's a medium in the middle, right? Because the reference photo is as much of an art tool as our brushes in a way, right? So yeah, I think it's really interesting. My name, hello, how are you doing? Blue Monster, yeah, I like that point of view. Erica, what paints are in your palette now? Do you find yourself reaching for or being drawn to certain colors and combinations? Actually, I'm using pretty much the same paints. There is a bit of a difference. So I needed some bright colors. So I pulled out my Paul Rubens palette, which is pretty darn good. I have to say, it has a bunch of really good colors. One of them is cadmium red light kind of pigment. It's not that, but it's a similar one. It's a bright orange. It's a really bright orange, somewhat opaque. I can use it from it's cakes, like it's pans. It's not tube paint, but I can use it from the pan, relatively thick, and it will cover up a layer and it will look very bright. I'm using it, and Saturday is going to be an interesting video. You'll see I'm using it there. This palette has 24 wells, in which I have no idea what specific colors are, to answer your other part of the question. What I do know is the general area of where they are on the color scheme. So for example, there's one blue and another blue and another blue. So I know this is the blue section. One of them is cooler, one of them is warmer, whatever. And then there is like 3 or 4 reds. One of them is more pyrrole, one of them is more like magenta, and one of them is kind of it's PR101. I remember the pigment. I don't remember the name of the tube, but whatever. PR101, if I'm not mistaken. That's a nice fiery red. And then there's the orange, right? 3 yellows. So, and then 3 greens. There's a bunch of paints there, and there's also a well with opaque white color. Looks almost like Joan Brilliant, but more neutral, a bit more white, rather than a peachy kind of pink. So I've been enjoying using that palette, which is not a limited palette by any means, but almost treating it as temperatures. So just temperature only. So I don't really care what color it is. All I care about is I want to get heat there. I want to get coolness there. And then I just use them for that purpose. So I'm reaching out for a warm, fiery yellow, and I just disregard the paint. I've enjoyed that process too a few times. Daiji says, hi, Ruth, and here she is, chilling. She really dislikes this sofa, but sometimes she enjoys it regardless. She doesn't like it though, I know. Mind Sketch Studio. Cheers from a Brazilian living in Sweden. Really fan of your work. Do you have any agenda where you set all paintings you will do on a week or in a month, like a planning board or something? Oh, I have nothing like that. The way that's an interesting point, because I never even thought of doing something like that. So just the fact I never even thought about it shows how foreign it is to me. So here's how I approach it. I always take photos when I see something interesting with my phone, not a professional camera or anything like that. The more amateur the photo is, the better, because I find that the light and shadow translates better to me to paint. I always take photos of things that interest me. I always look for new references just when I see something interesting. But the way I choose what to paint is, I know I want to paint. I just look at a bunch of recent stuff and choose something that moves me that same moment or makes me want to paint at that same moment. And then I do it. Sometimes it's a dud and it didn't really work. Sometimes it works perfectly. Sometimes it's just another painting. But that's how I do it. Yeah, I don't have any plan. I don't even know when I'm going to paint next, unless I'm working on a bit of a longer project like the one I'm working on right now, that I know after the live stream I'll continue maybe doing, and tomorrow I'll continue. Other than that kind of a thing, no, I don't even know when the next time I'm going to paint is, which is interesting. I don't know. Do you work this way? Let me know if it works for you, because I never even thought of it, of doing it this way. So it's interesting. Cubs win. Have you tried Mijello Mission Gold watercolors? I know professional artists. Yeah, a lot of artists like them. I never got the chance to. Mijello Mission Gold. I do have a Mijello palette and I do have a Mijello bucket, so their products are good usually. I'm sure Mission Gold is good. I've seen, I believe Steve Mitchell, Mind of Watercolor, used them. There's also Core, which is good. I just never got the chance to. Core is Mijello? I don't think it's Mijello. It's Mission. Oh no, it's not Mission Gold. It's a different one. Yeah. OJR1331. Hi Liron, what's neat in types of watercolor paint these days? I'm experimenting with Holbein. Holbein looks great. I've seen, I believe, Qian Chung Wei using it. Great. I love M-grams. They melt. They're so fun, But other than that, nothing really changed for me. I'm using the same paint, same thing, The Tactical Preceptor. Your online, I'm going to give you the full plug, your online English tutor. Hey, Liron, you inspire me. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us freely. I'm using acrylics for the first time, and I'm unable to merge the colors on the canvas. Please help. Oh, I don't know much about acrylics. Here's what I do know. What I sometimes see, first off, you can dilute them with water, so that may help. Second, the way I've seen people do it is grab a brush and just go around the edge. So you have one paint, another paint, and they just go over the edge like this with a relatively hard bristled brush. Immediately, even a few minutes after it started drying. That's what I've seen. I don't know from experience. Sorry about that. But thank you for the kind words. Sujoy, hi, how are you, sir? I'm doing really well. The Anchor, hello, how are you? Thank you for the kind comment, by the way. I don't remember what it was, but you commented on the video. It was real nice. Sujoy, is it really? Yeah, it is live. It is live. I'm just delayed with the chat because I'm reading everything as I tend to. Blue Monster Art. What do you think are the things you need to know as an artist? I'm still a student. It's interesting. I don't think you need to know anything. In fact, I think the less you know, the better. The better you'll do, especially in the beginning. I think the only thing you need is the desire to make art. And then if you have a pencil or a pen, even a ballpoint pen, and you just sit down and follow that desire, I think that's a good place to start. Then you almost will teach yourself the things you need, because you'll see where you're not getting the medium to do whatever you wanted to do, because you don't know anything. You just approach it in a pure way, of a naive way rather. So I think nothing really. Yeah, that's my answer. Sorry, it's not maybe the best one. So Joey, where are you from? I'm from Israel. Alicia, great instinct. I like that you don't jumble up your comments with long words. Gobbledygook. It's a lot about instinct and enjoy. Yeah. If if a 5-year-old can't understand it, I feel like I just don't know how to explain it, basically. Leftorius, hey Liron, do you start a painting if you aren't in a good state of mind? Okay, so there are a few ways to interpret a good state of mind. One would be not in the mood to paint. Yes, I do, and it always, like, I almost never am not in the mood to paint, honestly, but even the rare occasion I just get started and it goes away. That may not be something that works for you, but that's how I work, at least. Now, if I'm in not in a good, like, if I'm just in a bad mood, generally speaking, usually when I'm in a bad mood, my go-to is just to stare. Uh, Even if it's just staring at my phone or scrolling through social media, which is a waste of time, really, if you just scroll too much. But my go-to isn't necessarily to paint, but if I decided I'll paint, then a bad mood hits, I'll just paint anyway because it improves my mood. It doesn't even improve my mood. It just puts me in a no mood state. If anything, um, I don't feel really anything when I paint in the form of happiness, sadness. If anything, I would say it's more like joy or bliss or relaxation. It's a very neutral emotion, though, almost like a neutral gray. Maybe it's a little warm. Maybe it's a bit of joy. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that. I don't find a strong correlation between my mood and whether I paint or not. Which is maybe a little odd compared to other people or from the perspective of other people. Lauren, have you ever thrown away a painting before finishing it because you just can't make it work, or do you try to fix it and leave it for another time? So usually I don't throw away things. I may just quit. That did happen a few times before. Usually the way I leverage that kind of an experience is to test out things. So I'll just start doing crazy stuff and see what happens, because it gives me reference point for something I don't normally do. Now, with that said, maybe once or twice, which, considering the number of things I've painted, is not much. That's maybe the number of times I rage quit a painting, maybe ripped it and threw it out. I remember one time I got angry at a painting that didn't work. I wrote the word. I'm so I don't like to use bad words, but I just wrote SHIT, the word, on it. I wrote crap on it, just not crap, the other word, which is really not that bad of a word, but I don't know. I like to keep it clean. So I just wrote it big letters with a marker and put it on the wall to remind myself not to do it again. That was very immature of me, I think. But that's where I was at the time. Domo, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. It's been a while since I did this stream. My nose is crumbling. I don't know why I have such a dry skin there. Had a bit of a sneeze attack yesterday, but I didn't think it would be this bad today. The inker, I have the brush that's stuck in paper. Even it's wet. Should I find a new brush? I have a brush that's. What do you mean? It gets stuck on the paper's texture? Even if it's wet, should I find a new brush? Here's what I'll say: if you find that your art materials work against you, you're not enjoying using, that's a problem. Why would you suffer through a process? So yeah, if you ask the question, you probably need to ditch it for a new one. Now, don't throw it away. Get a new one, and in the meantime, use it. Sunil, thank you, bro. I will try to do something simple and short to create interest again. Yeah, I think it's not even about creating interest. I think it's discovering whether or not there is interest there, and if it's there, finding it. We're so used to intellectualizing things. When you're a kid, you usually know what you want to do. There's no filter. You just know you want to do something. You end up doing it. It's the thing you end up doing that is the right thing to do. So, and by the way, it could be that you really want to paint, but something is blocking it. And if you see your true desire, it'll be just effortless. I don't know exactly. I don't know your particular situation, but I think if that makes sense for you, the next sentence, then maybe it does. The interest could be there. You just need to find it. I don't think you create something new. It's just there. Maybe, Konkana, I can see a guitar behind you. Are you into music besides art? What's your favorite genre? Yeah, I barely play myself. I never. It was never important enough for me. Every time I sit down and try and play, it doesn't turn out the way I want. It doesn't sound good. It feels like a lot of work to get anything complex to work, and I just quit. But if you are talking about music in general, yeah, I listen to a bunch of stuff. I love a lot of anime music. Whenever I really like an anime, I end up liking its music, its soundtrack, its intros, its endings, all of the different songs. Let me remove myself for a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, anime music, a bunch of it, depending on the show and if I like it. I love I love metal. I love Metallica basically. That's the main one. I love Dragon Force. I've been listening to a lot of Dragon Force lately. They are so good. I don't know. It's it's so great that their songs go somewhere, and there's a variety in them, and it's I think it's a lot of motifs that I like, around victory and battle, and it's cool. I love Dragon Force. Um, what else as a genre do I like? Not much really. I think that yeah, classical music. Yeah, that's definitely another thing. But I would say that's pretty much it. Classical music is I would say a big one too. Steve, sorry, Liron. We'll have to catch up on this one later. No worries. I'm too engaged in the big chess match that's going on. Oh, is there one? I didn't know. Do you like Proco channel? Yeah, I think Proco has great materials to learn from. I really do. Um, I think I'm gonna be a little controversial. Um, I would take everything he says that is not purely technique with a grain of salt. And by the way, I hold myself to the same standard, just like I would say about myself. Whatever I say, whenever I tell you that one way is better than the other, I try not to do that. But if I do, never take me on my word. Same with Proco. I think Proco, like everyone else, is very conditioned with whatever's everyone is. So I think a surefire recipe for losing your uniqueness is to hang on to every word he, I, any other artist says about the mindset of painting, the mental side of painting, the discipline, the whatever, the how to practice. All of these things, take them with a huge grain of salt. Now, when it comes to techniques and the more pedagogic, pedagogic, I guess, value, that's there. It's great. It's really good. For figures, for gestures, all of that. That's wonderful. Um, One trap, even when it comes to that, is um, usually when people come into the area of gesture drawing or drawing things three-dimensionally, perspective drawing, right? They want it because they want to use it for something. And a very easy trap to fall into is once you um, start experimenting with it, you realize how much you can improve, and then it just becomes its own little chase of how can I make my gestures better, my 3D forms better, my whatever better. The reality is 10, 20 hours of practice, you should be good for most concepts, and then the rest is use it for the thing you were going to use it anyway, right? So that's another trap to I think watch out for. Renan, Liron, me again. No worries, I'm happy to answer as many questions as everyone has. When you first started painting, did you have problems to find people to exchange experiences and ideas? And again, thanks. Not really. It just isn't something that was important to me. I think other people may run into this. I don't. I live in a small country. Not many watercolorists. Not many watercolor communities. There exist. Don't get me wrong, but not many. The biggest watercolor Facebook page locally is my own. And I got into it 8 years ago. Watercolor, 2016. So 7 years ago, maybe. And there are people that have been doing it for decades, but still, that's the biggest watercolor community kind of page here. So there are a few other large ones, but not as large. And yeah, as far as I can remember, maybe they went past mine. I don't know, but yeah. So if you were to live here, you'd have that issue if you have it. I just never really cared. You could find everything online, and I yeah, I'm not sure. Exchanging experiences and ideas. I think it's interesting sometimes to do that, but I think sometimes it's also a bit detrimental. Um, if you don't, again, take things with a grain of salt. To me, at least in the beginning, I was more about the just trying it out and experimenting and doing a bunch of stuff with watercolor, not necessarily about learning from others any more than the very basic techniques that I did learn from others, from tutorials and all of that. So there's certain distinctions that I think could benefit a lot of people. Maybe. Chris G, what advice would you give someone in order to prevent overworking watercolor? Yeah, so I have the video, my most viewed video probably on the channel, how to not overwork your watercolors. I think that's the best answer to that, honestly. But overwork, again, could be another self-imposed rule, and you can decide you don't care about that. The thing is, whatever you do because someone else told you to, that's a problem. If someone else told you shouldn't overwork your watercolors, or if someone else told you shouldn't worry about overworking your colors, that's all useless. The question is what you want. And if you find that overwork, meaning reworking and adding and removing and things starting to dry, but you still add in details wet and wet, and you get cauliflowers and you get a lot of different details within a texture, if you find that serves your desired results, forget about everyone else's words. That's what I would say. But yeah, if you do want to avoid it, if you find that it's true to you, to your style, to not have it happen as much, or maybe you want to be able to decide if you want to overwork or not overwork. Even just the word overwork is coming with the assumption. Again, that's just like I said about Proco and everyone else, including myself, we're all conditioned. The word overwork, it has in it a belief that is hidden within it. That belief is you shouldn't overwork. And that's just not true. That statement, you shouldn't overwork your watercolors, is not true. A true statement would be by adding and removing and reworking and repainting, you will create details on paper. That would be a more honest way of saying it. And I'm part of this conditioning as well. I'm shedding it slowly. But still, the most viewed video is how to not overwork your water. You see what I mean? Even the words themselves contain a lot of judgment and a lot of hidden values and principles and ideas and rules and self-imposed limitations and restrictions, right? Maybe it's too granular. I hope it isn't boring to listen to, but that's kind of my thoughts. I have to provide them. Birdlove, Liron, I'm Chandan from India. I want you to review two things. One, Camel Artist watercolor tube set. Two, Chitrapat handmade watercolor paper, both from India, much cheaper compared to others. Oh, cool. Yeah, if it's cheaper compared to others and it's good quality, I'll be happy to recommend them. So I'm gonna screen capture, and if I get the opportunity, let me make sure that it actually captured the screen. If I get the opportunity to get them, I would love to. So let's see here. Pictures, screenshots. Yeah, good, I got it, because that way I'll remember it for later. Yeah, cool. Great suggestion. I'm always happy to find out. Sarbajit, how to control my color? Because when I start watercolor, the colors remain hard. So do you mean the pens on the palette remain hard? One thing that can help with that, you just grab a water sprayer. Sorry, it was outside the frame. And you just spray over them, give them a few seconds, and they will naturally re-wet. Another thing to have in mind is some colors are naturally harder. So you may find that you don't enjoy using them as much, they don't serve you well, that in which case use smoother colors. It doesn't necessarily have to do with brand, it's more have to do with the pigment. Some colors that tend to be very hard on the palette are the metal oxide, reds, kind of brown reds. These tend to be very very hard drawing on the palette. You have brands like M. Graham that specialize in smoother colors, but you don't even have to go this far. You just have to find colors that are smoother, re-wet easily, naturally. I can throw a few at you. Phthalo Blue tends to re-wet fairly easily, very easily usually, if it's a decent brand. Quinacridone Rose, right? Phthalo Blue is PB15, right? Quinacridone Rose PV19. Don't, the pigment is what matters. Lemon yellows tend to re-wet fairly easily. If you stick to these colors, it will be easy to re-wet. I hope that answers your question. If I misread, let me know. Marigold Wood. By the way, Marigold is such a beautiful name. I don't know why I love this name. Maybe because it has the word gold in it. I love the color gold. But yeah, I always thought it's a beautiful name. Hi, Liron. What do you do when you don't feel inspired to paint? Or more to the point, none of the reference photos, etc., you have access to inspire. I do think I would be careful of conflating the two, right? Because you can be uninspired to paint regardless of your reference photo, or maybe you could be uninspired to paint a specific reference photo. So these are two different things. I honestly never feel uninspired to paint, so I can't answer it. I just don't. To me, watercolor is freedom, it's experimentation, it's fun, it's loose. I'm never not in the mood to paint unless I'm like, I have strong anxiety about something upcoming. So I tend to get stressed out, for example, before jiu-jitsu workouts, the danger of getting hurt, whatever it is. I tend to get nervous before stuff like that. Before travel, I tend to get nervous, stomach ache, a bunch of stuff. I'm untangling that too as we speak. But unless I'm in that state where I'm practically not really in the mood to do anything, unless I'm in that state, I'm always in the mood to paint. So it's a bit hard to comment on that, unfortunately. But the question, why am I uninspired to paint, is possibly another place to start. Why am I not in the mood to paint? Now you'll get a bunch of BS answers. Whenever you ask yourself questions, you'll get a bunch of BS answers that aren't really the answer, because there's a reason your mind is trying to hide the real answer from you sometimes. So don't trust it. The one thing to trust, in my experience, is feeling. Whenever I get nervous before something, I get a stomach ache. That feeling tells me something. It tells me that I'm afraid of something, or there is a consequence to something that's about to happen, or I will feel in a way helpless in a situation. It tells me something very real, right? Emotions are very real. They circumvent almost the logical brain. So I would listen more to them than the words that come out. If that makes sense. I hope that helps. Hank, I think it's very interesting to recognize your comfort boundaries, but consider peeking beyond. Push yourself a bit beyond. It can be wonderful. Yes, indeed. Indeed. Zikas, hey, how are you doing? Arnav, I am a person. Arnav is rabbit in Hebrew. Once again, rabbit or a bunny? I'm not sure. Let me confirm that once and for all. Let me figure it out, because it's either bunny or a rabbit. I am not sure. Arnav in Hebrew means, we'll find out in a second, it's a rabbit or a hare. Yeah, it's a rabbit. Arnav, rabbit. It's actually similar. But it's also similar to bunny, so it's not really helpful. Arnav, are you a human? Yes, I am. I think so, at least. Colleen, how are you doing? I'm a beginner intermediate artist. I'm finding that I like bold colors, but what are some factors that help an artist determine what is their art style? Exactly what you described. You are finding for yourself, that you like bold colors. That's what you know. That's a good place to start. Sometimes the starting point is where you are currently at. Sometimes I think people try and guess, but even the way they guess is forced, and that's okay. You'll get an answer. You try something, it doesn't work, you get an answer. But I think sometimes just recognizing where you are in many ways, right, where you stand in the art world, in painting, mood wise, whatever it is a good starting point. So I would let that guide you. I'd let bold colors guide you. It will happen. Um, I don't think there are like factors, checklists that you can go by and determine what your art style is. I think your your art style is what happens when you don't try to develop an art style, if that makes sense. That's what I feel like, at least. Um, Core is golden. Okay, good to know. I had a feeling I remembered that. Tony, do you think painting is a dying art for contemporary artists? I find sketching and painting only having a therapeutic value and don't really care about the end result. Yeah, so that's great. So you know what drives you to sketch and paint. So you care more about the experience and what it gives you and provides you, rather than the result. I do, however, believe it's not a dying art. I think something in the human psyche enjoys it, and as long as that happens, it will continue. Is it less in the focal point culturally? Yes. I think technology has replaced a lot of things, has changed a lot of things. Um, it's just not as necessary. You don't need to paint people in order to have documentation of them. You can just take a picture. That was a huge shift, right? And then when cameras started really taking over, people started going wild with their art. The art didn't have to be realistic anymore, and then people took it in that direction. So yes, it's not as culturally popular as in the past. Definitely not dying, definitely not disappearing, definitely not going anywhere. That's what I think, at least. But it doesn't matter, because you enjoy it just for the pure experience, right? So you'll continue doing it. Same for me, by the way. I enjoy the experience so much. It doesn't matter to me what happens outside of it. My name, Liron. Have you tried imitating Joseph Zbukvich's style of painting? Probably unwittingly a few times in the past, a few time periods, but I don't see any value to that. John, thank you, Liron. Love your response. Seems the path of least resistance is the way to a more freeing process. I would love to delve deeper in. May I ask the name of the podcast? Yeah, it's a person called Kapil Gupta. I'm actually gonna send it to you on Instagram right now. Otherwise, I will forget. So let me do that. I can write it here in the chat, but I don't want it to disappear. So here we go. Kapil Gupta. Also, Sida, that's the website or account performance. It's not for 99.9% of people. I actually have a feeling you'll enjoy some aspects of it. So yeah, IG texting while yeah, but it's a very I think it's a very wise sentiment. It seems like the path of least resistance is the way to. Yeah, I think the path of least resistance is the only true path that exists. All the rest is falsehood, and it's romanticized struggle. That's what I think. Yeah. Alex, is there a color you, and by the way, for everyone here again, Kapil Gupta. I don't recommend his content to anyone, actually, but if you're curious, you can check it out. Siddha Performance, Siddha Performance. Everyone here from India should immediately know how to spell Siddha, I guess. If you know at least some terminology. Is there a color you can't stand? That's a good question. I think it's more contextual to me. So if I just look at a color standalone, it's all the same. They're all pretty in their own way, including pure, clean, neutral black color. I think it's more of a context. So is there like a combination I really dislike? Let me think. It just happens sometimes when I paint. I don't like something and then I change it immediately. But it's very hard to say. But no, there isn't really a color I can't stand. So that's the real answer. Donna, me too. I'd like to listen to that podcast. Okay, yeah, I shared it. Well, let me write it in the chat. I wrote it down in the chat. I think 99% of people will run the other way, and there is nothing wrong with that. It's not for most people. Laura, you can buy a medium to add to acrylic paint, which slows the drying time to allow easier building. Cool. Yeah, I know that there's tons of different mediums for acrylics, right? PJ Lewis, I think composition is what's most missing in students' work. Do you agree? I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure. It could be. I'm not sure, because composition is pretty much, it can be everything. So it's almost like how everything connects together is what's lacking. Which in this case, yeah, to some extent, I think there's truth to that. Yeah. The Tactical Perceptor. How did you overcome the fear of failure? I don't think I ever had that strong of a fear of failure. But you know, that statement again has something hidden in it, which is there is this thing which is the fear of failure, and it is something to overcome. I just don't think that's an accurate description of reality. I think, to me at least, I don't feel like I can fail. I don't have a better answer for that. I just don't feel like I can fail, really. There's one way to fail, and that is, at your deathbed, to figure out your life was entirely, you didn't do anything you wanted, or you didn't do most things you wanted, or you missed something completely. But along the way there, I don't think I can really fail, because I feel like on a day-to-day basis, I'm doing the thing. I'm doing what I want. I'm very free. And I think I'm more free than most people, just in a logistical sense, because I have my own business. I don't have a boss. But the thing is, the reason I'm like that is I don't think I could accept anything else. I don't think I could live life that way, which is why I never held on to any job more than a short while. The longest I had was 1 year tech support. I had 3 weeks at a cell company's customer support. That was a nightmare. I ran away as soon as I could. It just wasn't for me. Not to say it's not for anyone. Some people will enjoy that kind of a thing. I hated it. So yeah, I don't think I ever had that serious of a fear of failure anyway. But I think a good place to start is like to explore that. If you feel, instead of trying to overcome something, I think exploring the root of it, where it comes from, what exactly it is that you're scared of, because you can go more granular there. I think that could be a good way to start untangling the knot that is there. Hopefully that's helpful in a way. Mother Superior, that's a cool name. Thanks for the great videos. My parents were artists. I have a hard time living up to their talent, but the drive to create is in me. I think as long as the drive to create is in you, just follow that. I don't think there's anything to live up to. Also, this is not a question, but I just want to say to all the hardworking artists out there, you're all amazing. Let's keep making art. And thank you, Sir Liron, for inspiring us. All of your videos are helpful. I'm super happy to hear. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Domo, made an ink drawing yesterday, finally getting back to it. Studying too much makes me forget why I draw, but I do it anyway. You know what's funny? That's the best. That's the best case scenario. Sometimes I have an insight and I open up my sketchbook to write it, and I just end up scribbling because it's my natural kind of go-to. I can so easily get in the mood of just start scribbling, So yeah. But I'm happy for you. I'm happy you're going back to it. White Reza, hey Liron, I might have an opportunity to sell first painting. Yes. A diptych. What's it? Oh, a diptych. Is that like a wait. I know what it is. Like a two. Yeah. Okay. It's a combination of two. It's like a triptych. But two of 256 by 76 watercolors. Yeah, gigantic. How much money would you advise me to ask for it? Yeah, that's that's tricky. My one loose kind of guideline, because again, it's not the right way to do it, right? It's something for you to figure out. But my the one thing I'd follow is I never want to feel like it was a waste of time or I got duped. That's the one thing I don't want to happen. So as long as you feel good about the price, meaning, even if you feel like I could have gotten more for it, as long as it's not I got robbed, it's a good enough scenario. That's how I see it. I hope that makes sense. Um, but it will, the reality is it will depend on the customer. It will depend on what value they perceive the painting to be, and then the paintings, and then what value you perceive them to be. That's a large size. You could look at how long it took, but I think that's a very dry kind of way of looking at it. I think there's more to it than that. But just don't feel like you wasted time or you got robbed. That's the main thing. Way to go, by the way. Just the act of, if it's the first time you sell, then it's almost not that terrible. That price is like, that's my starting point, and from here on out, if I have another opportunity, I'll go where it is and up. That's at least how I see it. I hope that helps in a way. Debbie, do you ever have problems in choosing your subject matter or finding inspiration? Yeah, so I talked a bit about it today. I don't have problems. I used to have a bit more trouble with subject matter. Whenever I found the right one, I was fully in it and inspired to paint it. But my trouble sometimes would be to find it. And that's when I didn't take a lot of photos of my own. That was the number one thing that helped me personally. I just took pictures of anything that looked cool to me. And I always have something to reach into and just grab a file from a folder that I like, whenever. And these things are all around you. There's a lot of the pictures I take, my favorite ones are here around the neighborhood. The night scene is right here, right this direction, actually, real close. So that to me is the way I handled it. And I don't think it's about finding inspiration. I think it's discovering it. It's already there, but something maybe is not clicking. That's something to dive deeper into, to discover maybe. Feel free to ask a follow-up. It's a general question. I kind of addressed the topic, so let me know if there's something more specific about that. MKP, how you became this good at negative spaces? That's an interesting question. I think watercolor in a way demands it. I just did it a bunch of times. I remember painting the shadows and leaving the highlights, and it just connected. To me, it just happened. One thing that really generated that kind of negative space understanding very naturally in me was painting portraits that are black and white or very simplified values, and then I would focus on the shapes. It's almost like that picture where you can see a vase or you can see a face the other way around. It's almost like you learn to see the white negative spaces as a shape, as a positive space, if you will. It's almost like I'm seeing it as a positive space, but that's how it connects in my brain. You'll have to find your own way and forge your own path, I think. But I think I just did it enough that it became really easy. And to tell you the truth, sometimes to this day, I mess up negative spaces more than positive spaces. It still happens. So yeah, it's interesting. Bird Love, thank you, Liron. I will be eager to watch your review. Thank you so much. OJR, I can't get to Rapat where I live. I looked at it. Yeah, I'm sure I can't get it locally as well. It's going to be Amazon for me. Hey, Karshi makes art. Thank you for being here. MKP, when you notice the half of your are Indians counting meat, when you notice the half of your viewers, I guess, are Indian. Yeah, I have a lot of viewers from India. That's super cool. And Modin, hi Liron, did you try doing digital art? Yes, I have. Actually, even have a live stream where I struggle through it. It's just another tool, it's a lot faster. You don't have to mix paint. You just swatch it. You just select the paint you want. Very easy to fix mistakes. There's a lot of efficiency, effectiveness to it. I am very attracted to touching the medium physically. I want to physically touch my paper and feel the surface and feel my brush against it. It's just something I enjoy. So I don't ever see, and it may happen, who knows, but I don't ever see in the foreseeable future me dropping physical mediums. I just enjoy it too much. But if you enjoy digital art more, by all means, I know a lot of people that's their art, and that's that. The Technical Perceptor. Could you please tell me which is the cheapest and best brand of artists watercolor and watercolor brushes? Ooh, that's a good question. There are so many. It's very hard to answer. Cheapest and best brand of artists water. You know, what served me the best as watercolors? I think Shinhan PWC is is very decent, very high quality, and can be had for a cheap price depending on where you are. Ultimately, it depends on where you live. White Knights are really good as well. Rosa Gallery, really good. I reviewed them on the channel, a little cheaper. Brushes, there's like a million companies, so it's very hard to say. I think it comes down to what you can find locally and kind of test out. That would be the best answer. That would be the most honest answer. But if you want to order online, things like that, again, the cheapest. That's the thing. I don't know what's cheapest and best. That I know what's good. I know what's good quality. But if you bring in the factor of cheapest, it's a bit tricky. I think you need to experiment locally. Good brands for me: Levinson brushes, Skoda. These are my two main ones. Levinson are great. Levinson brushes. I think you should be able to get 20% off with Liron discount code. Test it out though. Make sure before you make a purchase, because it may not be in effect anymore. I just don't know if Tracy, who I had here on the channel, by the way, for an interview, I don't know if the code is still relevant, but they're good brushes. Birdlove, please tell, is it necessary to have distinguished colors like cyan, turquoise, etc., or is it possible to work mainly with cobalt, blue, crimson, chrome, yellow? I think there are no rules. It's more like the colors you enjoy using. I find that I enjoy using juicy colors that are very easy to re-wet, that could be strongly saturated very easily. That's what I enjoy. So yeah. Karshi makes art. Hi, can we use canvas for watercolor? The answer to that is yes. If I'm not mistaken, I think Steve Mitchell, Mind of Watercolor, canvas, canvas would be enough. Let me see if he has a video on that, because I believe he does, like with using gesso or okay. So maybe it's a special kind of board. Here is the video. It's been a while since I watched this particular video, so I'm not sure how well it answers your question, but there it is in the chat. And it's Steve Mitchell, so it can't be a waste of time. It can always help. So yeah, it is possible. I think you need to prep it using gesso or something similar, I think. But it should be possible. It will work a little differently though. Also, is there any problem with opaque watercolor paints? No problem whatsoever. Use whatever colors you want. What are the three main primary paints which can be used for mixing cool and warm other tones? Yeah, so on a very practical sense, I'm going to write it in the chat. Very practical, just mixing cyans. I find that phthalo blue, quinacridone rose, and lemon yellow are the best when it comes to a range of mixing. That's just a fact. Our question is, do you like them? If you don't use them. But for a range, for a lot of decently vibrant colors, yes, you can use them. For turquoises and other bright oranges, it will be hard. Sorry for disappearing. S. Corbett. Liron, will you quickly explain why different paint tubes made from the same single pigment can produce different colors? Do the manufacturers add something unlisted that creates a color shift? That's a great question. I have no idea. I don't know. I didn't experience it myself too, but I believe you if you say that some people experienced that, including yourself maybe. Maybe I just don't pay attention to it enough. But yeah, I never had that happen. So sorry. Okay, hey there, Liron. Hey, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. You've been consistently here every live stream in recent times, at least. Thank you so much for that. Krisha, hi, Liron. Hey, how are you doing? Dirty Blue Tube, hi. Have you ever used handmade watercolor paints? If so, how did you find using those versus factory-made ones? I have. I've used a few that were sent to me by different people. Did reviews on YouTube, posted links to their Instagrams, because people have this little side hustle where they make a handmade paint, which is super cool. I used at least, I believe, 2 or 3. Um, Here's what I found actually. In terms of light fastness, they did really good. They were very easy to re-wet. I forgot the one. Let me check if I can find it. Liron watercolor review. So I think watercolor paint review. Let's see. It will be a bit hard to find. It's an old video. Yeah, I won't be able to find it now. But if you go to my tools, there is a tools playlist. You should find it there, one of the older ones. They were very easy to re-wet. They were pretty good, pretty good. They sometimes flake. That's the one thing I noticed. Maybe because the gum Arabic binder or whatever they use in tubes isn't mixed as evenly as like machine. That's the one thing I noticed. Sometimes they flake and flakes drop, but these flakes also re-wet easily and you can use them. So it's not a big deal with watercolor. Maybe unless if you're using it as a travel palette, maybe. But yeah, I got them in pens. They were great in my experience. So you could find some really good catches if it's for a good price. Yeah. Krisha, hi there. Does the paper matter for graphite sketching? Because when I sketch, it keeps vanishing. It's very disappointing. Appreciate your response, Maria. Interesting. I'm actually not sure what it means. So, what do you mean? It keeps vanishing? It smears? You mean? Yeah, the paper will matter for any medium, pretty much. Not as much for pencil as it would for watercolors, but it will matter a lot for pen and ink. Textured paper is a nightmare to use with pen and ink. It just will destroy the pen tip or whatever it is you're using. I don't know though. I don't know what you mean by vanishing. If you get too much of a texture, use hot press smooth paper. But smearing and stuff like that, I'm not sure. I do know you can put another piece of paper under your hand to prevent oils from your hand to smearing the graphite. And you can seal it once you're done, using some kind of a sealer to seal the pencil, basically, which I never did, so I don't know how that's done. But I don't know. I'm not experienced enough in graphite to answer that, unfortunately. Zikas, do you paint large formats? Yes, I'm working on a large piece. We'll share it in the next couple of days, hopefully. I do, and I enjoy it. I enjoy painting large. Mike Barker, hi Liron. Composition is an aspect of my painting that I'm working at strengthening. How do you improve your compositional skills? Yeah, we talked about that a bit before. I think it's taste, just like taste in food. You taste a bunch of stuff, you understand what you like, and then you do more of that. That's how I would look at composition. If you have a follow-up, let me know. Hair. But yeah, nothing much to say about more about that, Mike. I think it's how everything comes together. It's so personal. It's so you, right? I don't think there's any rules for that or any real tips I can give you. It's more about taste. You got it, John. Alex, you got it as well. Ryan T. Liron, next time you're in Florida, come to our weekly portraiture group here in Sarasota. There's a live model every week. I'll email you the flyer. Yeah, feel free to email me the flyer. I'll save it for sure. I would love to visit Florida. I would love to. Maybe someday. I mean, it's a good destination. I always every time I was in the US, it's always in Ohio because I have family there, and New York. I don't think I've been to. I mean, I was in other. Where have I been in the U.S. other than that? Is there a place I forget? I don't think so. I think I always have visited these two places. So I don't know. It could be interesting to visit a different state. And I know Florida, like perfect weather. Maybe a bunch of crocodiles. That's the thing to watch out for. Not crocodiles, the other alligators, I think. But yeah, other than that, I would love to visit definitely. Mind Sketch Studio. Thanks for the answer. I'm doing a planning board at the moment, and this helps me a lot for keeping myself committed with a clear goal of what I'm going to paint next and how the paint should look like. Awesome. If that works for you, perfect. Marjorie just made it for last second, I guess. No, there's more time. Just out of hospital again. Need to get my mind onto something fun. So here I am. Hello. Yeah, sorry, out of the hospital again. How are you feeling, man? It's rough. Just going to the hospital. Any health issues are very rough. I've had a bunch of small like injuries. It's not real health issues from the jiu-jitsu. Got choked bad. Had my sternocleidomastoid hurt real bad. I got choked in a kind of a weird guillotine, and then someone squished it too much, and of course it will radiate to the ear because that muscle starts behind the ear. So it was a complete nightmare. Swallowing, chewing, drinking, it all hurt. It all hurt. It was tough. Any health issues, yeah, that's tough. Well, let me know how you're doing, Marjorie. Feel free to send me an email or message if you don't want to share here. So, Animeist, how are you? I'm doing well. I love the username Animeist. Let's see if I can recognize stuff. So obviously I see Naruto. Is it One Punch Man? Is it Baki? Dragon Ball, of course. Fairy Tail. Just looking at your profile pic, and a bunch that's a bit hard to see because of the size. I'm doing really well, thank you. I started watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure actually on because it's now on Netflix, the first season, and it's been interesting. It's indeed bizarre, but I'm gonna keep watching because I heard the third what do you call it? Not season, but the third arc is incredible. So I'll keep watching. Honey, I just saying hello from Germany. Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Sending hellos back to you. Zikas, I want to thank you. I learned a lot from you. Thank you so much. That makes me very happy to hear. Colleen, just wanted you to know that I appreciate your book, How to Sketch. It really helped me with my sketching skill. Thank you so much. And you know what? That book was written in a time where I was free of a lot of things that today I'm at least up until this point I wasn't as free from. So that book captures something very true and authentic, I think, that I'm now slowly finding and rediscovering again in myself. So very happy to hear it's helpful. Yeah, if you want to, everyone here, get a book on sketching in a direct approach. It's almost like my Draw Anything course, just in book form. That's a great one to check out. Actually, I'm going to drop a link here. Why not? I'm going to drop the link in the chat in a second. It's also on the channel. It's been a while since I plugged this book and just mentioned it. I think it's a great resource. Of course, I'm biased because I wrote it, but I think for a direct, fun approach from direct observation, it is a great resource. So definitely check it out. Books they make for great gifts too. So if you know someone, Ruth, finding a new position, if you know someone who wants to draw, that can help them maybe. So yeah, check it out if you will. Thank you so much, Colleen. By the way, if you speak Spanish better than English, you can find it in Spanish. Como dibujar. It's been translated. So yeah, super grateful for that. I think you should be able to find it in Spanish on Amazon too. Actually, I know you should. Mind Sketch Studio. Yeah, I'm doing a planning board at the moment, and this helps me a lot. Okay, yeah, we read that, right? It's the same message. Connie, a consideration of price. Is it framed, ready to hang? I compare prices on internet for a ballpark. Yeah, that's a great way to know kind of where the market is. Which I don't think ultimately that's how you want to price, but it's a good starting point, or a good experiment, I would say. All right, Reza, thank you for the input. It will not be a loss of time anyway. The experience brought by the challenge will be of great value. Yeah, that for sure. Ayat, what's your most favorite painting done by you? It's going to be a painting I'm working on. You'll see. Work in progress, big painting. I know it. I feel it. It's going to be my favorite so far. With that said, OCD is probably my favorite. OCD and the recent one, Shingles, those have to be somewhere at my top of the list. And you know what? Why not? I can maybe see if I have a handy picture to share here. Let's see. Where did I put this? I mean, most people here have seen it, so maybe it's a waste of time. But Shingles. Let's see how it's going to show it in the live stream. And then where is OCD? There we go. Okay, yeah, that one. So here is Shingles. So that has to be one of my favorites from, let's say, the last 12 months. But ultimately, I think this is my best work so far, OCD. Let me just for a moment remove the comment so you can see the full thing. I mean, that's something special to me, both in a technical sense and like from a soul perspective. But the painting I'm working on right now will end up being my best work. I know it. I just know it. Yeah. Musikina Free, thank you. And hugs from Italy. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just saw the scene from Florence. Usman, can you solve the mystery of producing dry brush effect on paper? I have a video on it. Check it out, Liron dry brush technique. I think that's the best way to explain it, the way I explained it there. Like everything else, you need to figure it out for your own. You really do. And I wouldn't want to take that gift from you. So I would, almost spilled coffee all over my keyboard. I would, okay, here's the thing. It's all in the water to paint ratio. So if you haven't figured it out yet, maybe experimenting with different ratios will get you there. And remember, for a dry brush, you want it to be dry relatively. I know it sounds very basic, but I sometimes don't think about things in those basic terms, and it helps. Indeed, thank you to Connie D for the great advice. Dwayne, hey, how are you, my friend? It's been a while. Thank you so much, Dwayne. I hope you are doing well. I'm doing really well. Myself, I've been not watching any YouTube lately. So it's been a while since I looked at your channel as well. Let's see what's up there. I want to see what you have posted. I'll keep it open. I will watch a video or two later. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, yeah. So I see you haven't posted in a while. Are you just don't feel like it? Let me know. Yeah, it has been a while. Thank you for being here. Much appreciated. Thank you, Akarashi. Renan, have you ever tried to make your own watercolors? You know, I played around with the thought, but then I read how to do it and it sounded complex. I just gave up. I have a lot of respect for those who try. And whether you succeed or not, it looks like a grueling process in some ways. But yeah, I really appreciate people who do it. And again, I got a few people sent me a few of their homemade paints that were great, actually. Dirty Blue Tube, they might do that. Also, pigments differ from manufacturer. Interesting, yeah. That could explain the difference. Bird Love, Liron, thanks for answering all my questions. Last question. Do you specially use ultramarine blue? If yes, then how? No, I don't have a special use for it. I use it in phthalo mostly, interchangeably. I mix them with a bunch of other paints. There isn't a specific way I use it. You know, if I want a warmer blue, I'll use ultramarine. If I want a cooler feel, I'll use phthalo blue. If I want a brighter green, I'll use phthalo blue. If I want a warm purple that's easy to mix, I'll use ultramarine with some kind of a red. They neutralize a bit less. You know, there's just kind of playing around with it. There is no rule for that, at least to me. Escorbet, have you ever tried Isaro watercolor paints made by a woman in Belgium? Honey and I believe glycerin. You know, I think I heard of these. Sorrow watercolor. But I never tried it. I think I have heard of it, but never tried it. I make watercolor paint myself as a full-time job, so that's why I was on it. That's super cool, Dirty Blue Tube. That is really neat. Let me know if you want me to give them a try. That could be nice. What? So let me ask you a question, and I'll see your answer in a while. What's your favorite, if you have one, paint to create, to prepare? Let me know. Jill, to help in pricing, a good starting point is to figure the square inches of your piece and start with $1 per square inch and move up to 2, etc. Yeah, that's a good way to just get a ballpark for a beginning. I think later on, and definitely you want to make sure you don't feel like you have been robbed. That's the main thing, really. Animator noob, yo Liron, love your vids. Can you do watercolor digital painting tutorials? That's my primary medium. Cool. I am not experienced enough with it. Did you watch my digital painting process with Clip Studio Paint? That was a collab I did with them. I did what's closest to watercolor there, but I find that I like, and I'm going to send you the link now in the chat. I find that I enjoy the physical aspect of watercolor so much that anything else as a replacement pales in comparison. So when I paint digitally, I prefer to just go all out digital, if that makes sense. So I don't try to mimic a traditional medium. I have played around with it a bit on my, was it Procreate or some kind of a Photoshop app on my iPad? It's just not the same to me. You know, I could do more digital painting tutorials, generally speaking, if you want. Watercolor, I'll stick to real watercolor. Phuket art. Did you start out as an artist by sketching? I find a good base sketch is a key to a good painting. I did get started by sketching and drawing just because that was my natural kind of path. I did a lot of that as a kid. But I think you could go either way, honestly. I don't think it's, you could start with painting as well. Ayat, Liron, do you have a specific place or country in mind where you would love to urban sketch? Ooh, that's a great question. Specifically to urban sketch, I thank you so much for being specific. Sorry for the shaky camera. What's up with that? My monitor is all shaky. I'll try not to touch the table. Let me think about it. To urban sketch, I think, yeah, there's no hope. I'll just move it. Sorry. Portugal looks really good for urban sketching. I don't know why. Honestly, here Tel Aviv is really good in Israel. I would have said New York, but honestly, New York makes me want to paint it, not necessarily sketch it. Maybe something like Florence, Rome, Venice, even Paris. I would say I think urban sketching lends itself really well to narrow, crowded, messy streets. So any old city part of whether it's Prague or it's Paris or it's any kind of old European city like that, I think would work really well. So something like that. The Tactical Perceptor. Thank you so much for the valuable session. Wow, I love your audacious attitude of thinking that you couldn't ever fail. I have never been to art school and try to learn as much as I can through YouTube. Art school, I think, can be debilitating for so many people. I would stick to just doing what you feel is right, I'm so happy, actually, I never went. Of course, that's not everyone, but to me, that's at least how it feels. Connie, stores sell a fixative for charcoal drawing. Oh, yeah, fixative, that's what it's called, right? For beginners, I've used aerosol hairspray. Interesting. So it's almost like a deodorant thing, right? Malia Hall. Hi, Liron. Malia is a cool name. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it correctly. Hi, Liron. Do you have any tips for having an ergonomic setup when painting? Ooh, that's actually a good question. Obviously, you want things in the right side. So if you're right-handed, the bucket, palette, all of that, probably better to have it on the right side, left-handed on the left side. I think it has to do more with best practices of ergonomics in general. So, like the height of your chair and desk, all of those things. Maybe you enjoy working while standing up. So, and maybe that's a healthier choice for you. Um, I would say just the best practices of ergonomics. Um, One thing that's very easy to mess up is distance. So you may place things too far away. I fall into that trap as well. So make sure everything is close enough. You don't want to go reach to dip the brush into the bucket or anything like that. I would say that's the main thing. Um, Krisha, and I know your name isn't Krisha. Sorry, I forgot. You wrote it earlier. Please do watercolor birds painting sitting on a branch. Yeah, I could do that. That's a good idea. I'll screenshot so that I remember. John, thank you for another great live stream, Liron. Enjoy your weekend, my friend. P.S. I hope you received your. Not yet. I'm waiting for it. If you have a tracking number, send it to me, please, on Instagram. I'll take a look. I have not yet received an update. I'm not surprised. It's been a holiday here again, and sorry for the siren if it comes through. It has been the holidays here. Things have been massively delayed, so it's due to that probably. But I'll keep an eye out and send me a tracking number if you have anything, yeah, global, whatever. I'll be able to track it. Malia, hey Liron, do you have any tips? Yeah, we read that one. Shingles is wonderful. Thank you so much. What is the activity and space of your OCD painting? It is great. Yeah, that is a restaurant. It's a pretty well-known restaurant in Tel Aviv. They are plating. Is that the word for it? I think they are preparing all the plates and all the dishes. It has been a great place to eat at. We sat there once. It's one of these very expensive places. It was great. It was really good. Every dish, it was like a 10 dish thing, small, but really, we were super full by the end of it. It was great. It was really creative food, great, service, everything. So, yeah. OCD has been my favorite of yours since I saw it. Can't wait to see this new one then. Yeah, it's vastly different, but I think you'll like it. The kitchen scene has been my favorite since I saw it. Yeah, thank you so much, Laura. Yeah, I think you refer to the same one. Because I also have a painting of our old kitchen in Tel Aviv, and that was a good one too. Animaster. I am a comic artist, but I struggle with basic anatomy and quick sketches. Any tips? Yeah, so obviously some fundamentals, just learning about how the body is structured can help. Things like the beam exercises, learning basic three-dimensional shapes can help. I would explore Proco's tutorials. And once again, don't listen necessarily to the advice that's outside of the technique, but the technique itself, of simplifying the human body and the human form will really help you. Now, one more thing, that's what they used to do in the old days that I think is highly effective is to draw from life. If you can go and draw in different places that do life drawing, draw people from direct observation, or even from photos, just draw it as you see it. That's a great way to develop your own approach as well. So that's something to try too. It's just one of those things you have to learn. It does not come naturally. It comes naturally in the form of experimentation and practicing, but some knowledge is involved. If you really want good anatomy, some knowledge will go a long way. And I still use tons of reference even today. Everyone uses tons of reference unless you're a legend and you've been practicing and you've never relied on references. You just learned the human anatomy so well you don't need it, which some people are a rare breed. I still use reference for the manga I did, for a bunch of stuff. Now, don't let that stop you from making your story and your art. Please write the story, do the thumbnails, do the rough draft, keep at it, do it all together. I think actually publishing a product has tremendous value, I think. Even if you just do the rough draft and then later on you'll add the details once you feel more confident, with anatomy. Marjorie, your kitchen chef painting is my favorite. Some because of being prepared chef for. Oh, that's cool. For a while, and it captured the feeling. Every time I see it, I think of Bourdain and Thomas Keller. That's cool. Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm happy you have that kind of personal vibe with it. That's great. That makes me happy. Animator noob, you got it. Happy I can help. Renan, man, I do my own watercolor easy. I was afraid at first with the end result, but I did mix pigment, gum arabic, and honey. The colors is like pumping out of paper, and it does behave well. Oh, that's really cool. The one thing that deterred me was the whole dealing with the powdered pigment, but that's great. Isaro Paints is handmade. The factory is just next to my home. So is it handmade or factory? I'm curious. Awesome paints, by the way. So, and by the way, if it's right next to your home, that's probably the cheapest watercolors you can get, right? I think. Janae and family, where do you get your reference photos? Easy answer. I take a lot of them myself. Whenever I see anything interesting, I take a picture. And there are websites out there for free reference photos you can use for whatever. So Pixabay, Pixabay .com. It's a good one. Colleen, so did you do a quick sketch for the OCD painting, or did you use some reference photos that you took? It's I have a reference photo. I have a few photos that I took. I chose the one that looked best, the poses were the best, and then I sketched based on that, not quickly, but very slowly and very in a very dedicated manner. I find that when I paint large, I do, and OCD isn't huge, but it is a bit of a larger format and wide. I do need a good detailed pencil structure. Not everyone needs it. I do. So yeah, I just sketched it. I don't remember if I traced it actually or I did it from observation. It was one of the two. I want to say I sketched it from observation. It doesn't really matter anyway. It's 50-50 with me. I do both. Hector, Liron, what is the 5 things that a beginner must learn? Nothing. Just create. That's the one thing you may want to do. Chris, hi, Liron. I forgot to get up early. I'll have to watch later. No worries. Thank you for being here regardless. Ayat, thank you for answering my questions. The last one. Do you like doing fan art of your favorite TV shows, movies, or is it something you dislike? I actually like it when I'm in the mood. So I'm always in the mood to paint. I don't think I'm ever don't feel like painting, but I'm not always in the mood to paint based on other people's characters. That's something I'm not in, and definitely not in the mood to paint other people's watercolors as well. So I think I'm always in the mood to make my own original art. But yeah, I like it a lot when I'm in the mood. When I'm in the mood, I really enjoy it. If it's a study in anatomy, so I sketched a Titan from Attack on Titan. It was a great study of torso muscles. That was fun because I made it my own. It was based on an anime screenshot of an episode, and I did it as in the form of a sketch. So that was fun. Bleu, vert, et forêt de pin. I have no idea how I pronounce that, but I know. I think vert is green. I think blue is maybe blue. I don't know. Have you seen Emily Olsen's portrait of yourself she made during your live stream with Steve Mitchell? I don't think I have. No one told me about it. Wait a second. I don't think I've seen it. You serious? Now I have to see it. Did she make a portrait of me? Is this, what universe am I in? Where do I see it? Now I'm curious. No one tagged me in it. No one showed it to me. Let's see. Well, I don't see it. But if she did, that is fantastic and a huge surprise to me. Let me know. If you can send me a link, that'll be great. Your live stream with Steve Mitchell. Is it in, maybe it's in a live stream she did? Wait a second. Now I'm curious. We're not going to waste too much time on that. But I just want to see real quick. It's going to be embarrassing to see it anyway, so maybe it's best if I see it afterwards. But in any case, yeah. Where was I in the chat? Debbie, thank you, Liron, for the advice. My phone has hundreds of pictures that I've taken of things that inspire me. It's choosing just one to paint. Yes, start somewhere. If it doesn't matter which one, it really doesn't matter, you know. I just choose one and paint it. That problem I never had, and honestly, I think it may be like some kind of an avoidance thing. So maybe not. You know, I'm just guessing. If I know nothing, that could be it. You know. Can you give a few tips on watercolor, and if possible, can you do urban sketch on Porto? I want to. I actually did a. I actually Maria. Yeah, okay. I actually did a sketch of Porto, I believe. But yeah, I could do a video like that. That sounds fun. Thank you. Yeah, my hair is a bit of a mess right now, but uh, I like it. Yes, I'll write it down. I'll screenshot it. So, consider for a future video. Your OCD also allowed me to think of Thomas Keller. Cool. Yeah, I got that as a comment from a few people. Animaster, thank you for the advice. I can draw anatomy, but the bases for it look pretty bad. Well, definitely, yeah. So that's where you want to go a bit to the basics, just a bit. Don't make that the goal if it's not the goal, but just help it enrich your goal to make a comic. I assume that's the goal, right? Um, the Tactical Receptor, could you please make a video on different art styles? How do I discover what's my art style? I love painting, loose paintings, and bright colors. So that's again, that's a place to begin. You know, whatever you know, and with that, you can get started and develop it. I really think explaining how it kind of beats the purpose of discovering it. So I probably um, will not do a video like that. I think also looking at different art styles won't help anyone find their own style because that's two different things. I hope it makes sense. Colleen, thanks for answering my questions and for sharing your thoughts on art. Thank you so much. And I think in about 5 minutes we'll wrap it up. Yeah, 2 hours. I'll have to leave. Could you please make a video on different? Yeah, okay, read that one. Yes, I'll consider doing something similar. But again, if you just watch the painting masters and see what moves you, that's a good hint that something is you may enjoy creating it. Not always, but that's a good place to start as well. And it's great that you love, bright colors and things of that nature. Like um, I know that I like. That was not a cool answer. Sorry, Hector. That like I know that I love strong light, lots of light, bit of shadows, a lot of light, well lit surfaces. I also like bold, bright colors. Both, so a bit of both. What you said and what I believe Colleen said about bold colors. So yeah, Fabian. Can you give advice on what color to use for urban painting? I start to paint my neighbor's house and I'm not sure about the basic colors. Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with the basic blue, red, and yellow for starters. But at the end of the day, I think you want to find the colors that speak to you, and that's not something that is done on a logical plane. It's something you feel, as cliche as it may sound, you know. Um, Dirty blue tube. I was a bit behind, but I think one of my favorite pigments to make into paint is PY129. Oh, green gold. Let's see. PY129 watercolor. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, that's interesting. So it's very similar to nickel azo yellow, but it does seem a little more green. That's cool. That's a cool, aka warmish color to prepare. That's cool. Escorbet, how does one get over the fear of failure? I need more than just do it. Um, I don't think I have a good answer for that, just because I'm not experienced enough in that kind of a thing. Again, I don't think there's anything to get over. I think it's more of an issue of understanding your fear, because fear of failure is a headline that we picked up somewhere from society. What is that fear of failure? Are you scared of humiliating yourself in front of other people? Are you scared of disappointing yourself? Are you scared of disappointing others? Are you scared what other people will say about you? Are you scared of not measuring up to something you believe you should measure up to? There is so much you can start diving deeper into. Usually, from my experience, the solution to the problem is the problem itself. So if you have a fear of failure, you can't really get over it, because if that's your fear of failure, getting over it did not eradicate it. You're just on the other side, right? And you're gonna meet it somewhere else. You can't really get over it. You can't even go through it. You can't do anything with it other than understand it and see it for what it is. If you understand it and see it for what it is, I think that's the only chance you have to truly dissipate it completely from your life. I know that's a bit of a weird answer, but that's the best I can do, especially because it's not something I dealt with myself. So, yeah. And just do it isn't good advice as well, because how are you going to just do it if you have a I don't know if it's your case, but someone who has, let's say, debilitating fear that stops them from doing something. Just do it won't help them. That's why I say the solution to the fear of failure is the fear of failure itself. As counterintuitive as it sounds, that's where you'll find the solution, by understanding the problem, not by looking for solutions. I hope that helps. Sorry, Hector, I'm not sure what answer you referred to, but yeah. But my signature mix, Dirty Blue, a mix of PB29 and PY43. Okay, so PB29 was ultramarine, right? Then, because now I'm curious to see what your specialty is. It's your username, Dirty Blue Tubes. That's amazing. PY43. PY43 is familiar to me. Is it yellow ochre? Okay, some kind of a yellow ochre. That's cool. Yeah, that's gonna be a really nice green. That's really cool. That's cool. That's a cool username too. Now I know the lore behind it. Vidu, which paper do you recommend for watercolor painting? If you can, 100% cotton, acid-free, 300 grams. That would be the best, easiest to work with. Doesn't matter the brand, really. Escorbet, thank you so much for sharing your time. Yeah, my pleasure. The tactical, don't be afraid, don't let perfect. Yeah, so you see, this is all like good intentioned and attempting to be helpful advice, and I think it may help some people, but it's just very hard again to, and I admit, I do it sometimes myself. I give that kind of advice. It's just very hard to not feel something that you feel, or to not let something that stops you from and that's the problem. Is that's what we've gotten used to, trying these weird solutions that don't actually work. I think it's more about exploring the problem in a way. By the way, that can work for some people, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I hope that I hope that helps. It's things that I'm slowly learning, so I can't really speak with full authority on. I don't have a better answer than that, the tactical receptor. But yeah, I'm happy that helps in a way, hopefully. No, I don't mind his pigment numbers. That's probably how you're used to talking, which is hilarious. That's the most authentic way you can describe these things. But yeah, that's a good time to end this live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. Keep an eye out on Instagram. I will post probably in about 2 to 3 days a huge painting. I think it's going to be my favorite and my best work so far. Okay. On Steve's channel. Okay. Thank you so much, Blue. I'm going to look it up now. But anyways, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. And I will see you real soon. There will be a video on Saturday. Keep an eye out. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to do a fun little art challenge experiment. You'll see. Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, everyone who was here. We'll talk to you again. We'll see you on Saturday's video, and we'll talk. Take care.